Hi everyone out in Facebook land, happy Friday. I hope you're doing good. I hope your week has been fantastic. I am above and beyond so excited to be here with JP, my beloved husband who I've missed dearly, and yeah.
I'm a piece of poop. Hello.
And tonight we are super excited to chat with you guys about entrepreneurship and lifestyle design. So one of the many questions that we get a lot is about our businesses, what we do, how we do it, why we started doing it. And basically, people just want to understand more about how we manage our time, space, and energy so that we can be the most efficient at what we do, but also have a lot of playtime for the things that really matter to us outside of work. So tonight I wanted to kick it off, sweetie, and ask you, so what got you on the entrepreneur journey? Like what's kickstarted that for you, and how did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yes. Would you mind typing in my wife and I going on live talking about entrepreneurship?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
It's my Facebook page, sharing this Facebook page that we're all a part of. So how I got started in entrepreneurship, I think, is probably being defiantly dysfunctional enough that I didn't know how to fit into anybody else's box. I remember back when I was like 18 years old, just concluding college because I was officially about to fail out / drop out, feeling really scared. Like, I don't know what my future is going to be like because I know college isn't for me. And I was of the mindset that said I can't be successful if I don't go to college. And I definitely know I can't go to college. It just felt soul sucking to me. So that was very scary when I realized like I don't know how to fit into like the preconceived boxes and paradigms out there. So luckily along the way I started to become empowered by mentors who, we didn't use the word entrepreneurship back in this day, but they were cutting their own path, and that was very I think very exciting to me and very empowering because I was seeing for the first time like, oh, these people on a very purposeful mission are doing it their way. They're not waiting for permission or following anyone else's landscape. So how I got started on my entrepreneurship journey is seeing people who inspired me be an example. For it. And then, stumbling along into finding, okay, what feels like my purpose to express and help people with. So, yeah, and it feels like I'm still beginning, even though I guess I'm 17 years or more deep into the journey.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, as far as getting started, did I miss a piece of the question?
No, that was perfect, sweetie. But for those who don't know your history, perhaps you could tell us what was your initial offer when you were new to entrepreneurship? What were you selling, and what were you offering to people?
Yeah, so initially it was personal training. So when I was 18, 19 years old, started personal training people. I think Zephyr's peeing on the floor, but we won't tell anybody that. And from there, personal training, like exercise-wise, got me interested into doing nutritional coaching with people, which was super cool. And then that got me interested in doing stress reduction with people, which then quickly led into like a more specifically intimate realm of doing emotional healing coaching with people. And that was, I just fast forwarded a few years there. And along that way, I started to teach classes in all those realms. And then once all those realms were in place and emotional healing, client coaching became my main thing, fast forward another 10 years or so, and then conscious comedy came onto the scene. So I think for me, the common denominator of all that I think anybody can relate to is being in tune with what feels inspiring to me, what makes me feel more alive as far as not just being a slave to what felt super purposeful to entrepreneurize in the past, but what feels purposeful now, even if that means adding to what I was doing or obliterating that. But yeah, a willingness to betray how I was doing it was very important to me as part of the formula for following my heart. I think that's something anyone can do. So with that said, I will add that to me, one of the most important parts of my entrepreneurship journey, and therefore I dogmatically believe it should be the most important part of everyone's entrepreneurship journey, is following your freaking heart. You know, being in touch with the tangible feelings that make you feel more alive, maybe scared simultaneously, but more alive and excited when you're looking at decisions to make, routes to go on. And I think that's really the recipe for success, so that the entrepreneurship journey can be fulfilling to you. And I think that tends to equal better outward success, because to me, the absolutely worst case scenario in entrepreneurship, to me, the nightmare is someone becomes really successful doing something that doesn't fulfill them. And then because it doesn't fulfill them, they keep spending more time in it. So they feel gradually emptier and emptier, yet are addicted to doing that because they have the outward success of making a bunch of money, which seduces them into being addicted to doing the very thing that feels draining on them. So to me, that's worst case scenario, because that can be easier to, stay stuck in the toilet that's drowning you than like if you were just like failing right off the bat. But to me, we cut through that and save ourselves many decades in the process if we know how to be in touch with our heart and let that be the compass that navigates our entrepreneurship journey. By the way, I think we're all spiritual entrepreneurs. That's life. What about you, and how do you want to share how you got started?
Sure. Yeah, so I started my business, I would say back around age 21, 22. My website, Epic Self, launched as a blog initially, and it was really just for me to pursue my passions about health and wellness. So I found this whole blogosphere world and was just learning from people along the way, like, oh wow, this is a way that I could make some passive income on the side. I was dancing professionally at the time.
Not stripping.
Not stripping, no.
I didn't know there were other forms of dance until
of course you didn't.
I met you.
Yeah. I was dancing professionally, contemporary ballet and modern at the time, and I was also teaching Pilates already, and so I was teaching some different things and teaching dance, of course, but I really fell in love with health and wellness and nutrition, and so I dove really deep into that realm and wanted to blog about it because I wanted to share the information I was learning. I was like, everybody's got to learn this stuff because it will make them feel so much better and have a much better life in general. And so I started blogging about that and ended up making some money on the side just through some ads I had on my website. And then that slowly turned into coaching once I went through a couple more certification programs, and I went through Pilates and yoga and plant-based nutrition certification programs, and that's when I was like, okay, now I can take all these skills that I've learned and create a business doing what I love that I know will really help people and support them along their journey wherever they're at, to take their life to the next level mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so I really just became obsessed with transformation and how can I help people quantum leap into the next level of themselves, whatever that looks like for them. And so that really evolved into a lot of online coaching. Once Skype became a thing, I got really excited about Skype and the potential of working with people all over the world, not just in San Francisco where I was living at the time. And I was also around this time producing a lot of workshops, and also started to produce my first retreats in Bali and in Mexico. And I was getting so excited about the whole retreat experience because it is so transformative to be with a group of people for a week and go on this journey together, experience all these cool things and be able to go back and integrate that into their everyday life. And so, it's been this really fun journey of now I do a lot of online coaching and retreats and trainings. I have an online membership community, and all of it's really dedicated to health and wellness, mind, body, spirit transformation. And I'm also doing a lot more business coaching now. I've had a lot of people in the health and wellness industry reach out to me to learn how I did what I did. And so that's one of the reasons that we wanted to chat with you guys tonight, is to share with you how we built our businesses so that you can go out there and do something similar for yourself and really follow your heart and live more on purpose. Because I think you'll agree with me, babe, that living on purpose and really doing what matters to you and what lights up your heart is the best way to live out your days. If you're going to work and you're going to dedicate 8 hours a day, let's say, to your work, it better be something that you love, because we spend so much time, so much of our life doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. What animal what spirit animal, or earthly animal represents the best way to navigate entrepreneurial realms to you? It's a very scientifically valid
Oh
question.
gosh, that's a hard one, babe. Oh, I don't know, because you've got to have there's just so many aspects of entrepreneurship that can be that's a hard one. I would probably say that's hard. Maybe the snake or the jaguar. I'm thinking Amazonian animals
Snake.
first and foremost. I'm thinking
What
snake.
kind of woman am I dealing with?
Yeah. Snakes, because they have to be able to weave and adapt and also shed the layers of themselves that are no longer serving them and their business as they grow.
And that you can like deceive people better being like a snake.
No.
Like take more of their money while giving them less value.
No.
While thinking they're getting a lot of value. Snake. You're right. I think the dolphin is the right answer.
The dolphin.
People have dolphins more than snakes.
Well,
it's a scientific fact.
Oh, okay. I think the snake, because you've got to be courageous. You've got to be. I honor snakes. I don't think that they're a nasty animal. I think they're incredible. So I personally think snake. I'm going to stick with snake.
Lesson I just learned is don't ask a vegan a question involving animals. So what plant do you think represents the best plant to be in an entrepreneurial journey?
I don't know. What do you think?
Ayahuasca.
Ah, okay. Why?
I think...
That was my first thought, but I'm curious why.
Yeah, I think to me, if you're making a job out of your vocation, if you will, a job out of your purpose, then it becomes a matter of not asking what do I want, but what's being called of me. What's the inner call here? So I think what can be an obstacle to us is we try to do what we want and design the life that we want and make the business that we want. And we never ask like, well, what part of me wants that? Which is like, what part of my dysfunctional ego is looking to compensate through some business? So to me, the inner call is something that comes from our heart and soul.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
I think ayahuasca is a plant that represents to me transcending the ego consciousness.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking about that.
A dolphin on ayahuasca.
Okay. And why dolphin? Because
I might
they're
forget to breathe though.
playful and intelligent, and dolphins are awesome.
Yeah,
But yeah, just curious what that means to you. I think playfulness is super important in entrepreneurship. I spent way too many years being super, super serious and pushing, like you said, and just like really not always listening fully to what my heart wants and just doing what I think I should be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in dolphins, playfulness is a great asset. It's fierceness, like they can be brutal hunters with pinpoint precision. Dolphins know how to go with a force much greater than themselves, the ocean. You watch how they play in the waves, they go with it, they don't try to fight anything. And I think that represents being in a state of ambitious surrender rather than resistance.
Yeah,
So to me, a dolphin on ayahuasca, swallow a bunch of snot, would be a great spirit animal plant combination.
Yeah, I agree. And so I'm curious, Woody, what were some of your challenges along the journey? Because as we grow, we're always evolving and shifting internally, and so much of the entrepreneur journey is an internal one, having to really cope with a lot of the fears and the inner resistances that just naturally come up as we start to put ourselves more out there and create more work. I definitely see as I think we both are really conscious creators of our reality, but also your work is super, super creative. So what have been some of those challenges for you along the way as an artist? Because I would definitely call you an artist.
Thank you. I made that painting behind us. One of my challenges has been an avoidance of discomfort. And it's like both places, inside my internal feelings and outside. And I find that the more I'm willing to do the things that make me uncomfortable, the more things accelerate in a beautiful way for me. So that could be I'm afraid to do something, so I'm going to avoid the feelings of fear inside of me, which means I have to avoid doing the thing that will provoke the feelings. Or it could be like there's an external situation that's also just scary unto itself. And I think just an ambitious willingness to do the uncomfortable things. So, I think there's two sides to this coin. One of my biggest challenges has been avoiding discomfort. And then one of my greatest accelerators is going into the discomfort. And then I think another challenge has been staying attached to how things have been. So like building something one way and then sticking with it rather than letting it be a living thing that grows and evolves. So I know, I've made myself stuck by just, this is what I've been doing, is how it's been, it's works, so I'll stick with it, rather than letting some of it go and transform, which the reason why I would avoid that at times is because it would be scary. Change is always scary. Welcome to the human condition. So that goes back to the principle of, avoiding feelings, avoiding discomfort. Would actually be the root cause of like, let me just stick with this, having a sense of control. And then a third challenge that I'll put on the table, and this is definitely not the least challenging, it might be the most challenging, receiving support.
Yes.
We're all called to grow into whatever we're supposed to grow into. Some of us are probably destined to be like super solo, and that's awesome. And other people are destined to be supported by a team, and that happens to be the case for me. And I've had so much resistance along the years to receiving the support from other people, be it bringing a new team member on, and receiving support from friends and family as well. I've kind of had the mindset of I'll do it all myself, which is really my way of saying I'm scared. I love to feel in control, and I like to create the facade of strength through independency. But to me, it actually takes more strength to be humble enough to surrender and receive support. That means we have to have the strength of courage to let go of control and realize, like, oh shit, I'm a part of something that's bigger than me. And I think egotistical nature inside of the entrepreneur says, I don't want anything to be bigger than me. And that becomes a limit. However, to go beyond that limit of our ego that can really cap our level of expansion, fulfillment, and success in entrepreneurship, we have to realize when we're called to let things be bigger than us, we have to say, wow, there's support I need to receive. It'll be scary. I won't feel in control. There will be, the scary fears that come up oftentimes is lack. Well, that means paying people, and I'm scared because then I'll have less money because they're making me even more money, and that doesn't make sense math, but I'm scared, so I'll use that as a rationalization. So yeah, the not receiving support, staying attached to how things have been, not letting things change, and avoiding discomfort have been, I think, probably my three prime challenges, which again are also all prime catalysts, just depending on how I relate to those in any given moment. What do you think your most like bull riding, somehow gracefully said metaphor that I'm not saying challenges have been?
Well, I'm first of all going to say that I've had all the challenges you mentioned, and those are big themes in my journey as well. But one that I think a lot of us experience that really is my thing is I'm a total workhorse, and I have so many passions. It's oftentimes very hard for me to just settle on just one. So when I first started teaching, I was teaching like 3 different things and offering all these different types of retreats and workshops and trainings, and just really spreading myself way too thin because I want to just be creating all these cool experiences, but they were all different. And so what I found myself doing was just piling on the work, and I'm a total workhorse. I feel like I can just take on a lot, and I actually do super well under pressure. And so I would do that to myself. I found myself in this pattern of just what I would call just causing more suffering for myself, because I was overworking by just like, yeah, I got this, I can do that. No, I got it. And a lot of it was what you mentioned, which is like not being willing to ask for help. And also there was a control part of it where I wanted to be in control of all the moving parts initially. And I learned very quickly that can't work. I actually need a whole team around me to support me to be able to really stay in my core genius and teach well at my fullest capacity. And so Yeah, I would say taking on too many projects, spreading my energy too thin, overwhelming myself with too many opportunities. I see a lot of opportunities out in the sea of possibility of life and on a daily basis, and it's hard for me not to grab at all of them and be like, yeah, I can do it all. And so really over the years, it's been learning how to like slow down because I'm so passionate about so many things. And okay, how can I just narrow my focus more and really just do 2 or 3 things super, super, super well? And that's one of the things that I really drive home with my clients and just really recommend you guys do, is really focus on the things that really, really light you up inside, versus you might be passionate about a lot of things, but really focus your energy so that you can be the best at those things. Mm-hmm. And that's hard for creatives, I think, like you and I, because like, for example, your videos they're all unique and all full of variety and different.
Brilliant,
and,
really. Let's not be so
gold,
humble, babe.
Gold star for you, babe.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that variety, I think you and I both need that variety, and that's why I do often create new programs and new retreats and stuff like that. But I've just learned to pump the brakes on that and slow down. Another big challenge for me has really been work-life balance, because I am that workhorse and I love to take on a lot of projects. Having balance between life and work, and this is something I wanted to chat with you about too, is how we've designed our lifestyles, because we definitely are so passionate about what we do that it's very easy for work and play to be a blurred line, for it all to be just this gray zone of like, it's all so fun and cool and purposeful, that we often just say, we have a hard time delineating what's work and what's play, and then what is playtime? Is that complete off time away from all of our creative work and all of our to-dos and emails and, you know, devices? And so, yeah, I'm curious, how did you consciously create your lifestyle? Because I know right now, for those who don't know, JP travels a lot. We both do. JP, you travel a lot all over the US and also internationally. Did you intend that to be a thing when you started as an entrepreneur? And if so, how has that shifted over time?
Did I intend on traveling?
Yeah, like was that an intentional choice, or did that just end up happening because of what you were doing?
Yeah, so the travel and how that looks now is traveling around doing live comedy shows in a bunch of cities. And then before I was doing comedy shows, I was teaching workshops and retreats and around cities, actually around the world. And no, it was never like a specific, like, I want to travel and do this. It was just more the call of duty had travel as a way for me to get my purpose out there. So it called, and I wasn't afraid to answer the call. And I enjoy the travel, and there's also you know negatives to it as well, but it's definitely a joy. So yeah, for me, I like to use the term being a curious student of life, and specifically for me, that's my life. So being the student of my life, it was teaching me like, oh yeah, cool, JP travel. To do these things and doing my best to be the good student. It's like, all right, cool, I do that, and do my best to enjoy it, which I do while navigating challenges. And I know there was more to your question, but yeah. I was reading a comment while you were saying it, so I got distracted.
No, I was just asking you, was travel intentional in your lifestyle design with your business? Mm-hmm. How has that shifted for you over time? Because now for those of you who don't know, JP's got a lot of comedy shows. He's gone pretty much, like over the summer, he was gone almost every weekend or every couple weekends for comedy shows. And also you'll come down and visit me in Costa Rica or come with me to Thailand, because I do a lot of international travel. And so, yeah, just curious if that's something that you really love, that you want to keep into your lifestyle design. Or is that something that you want to, I know it's kind of hard to right now because there's so much momentum behind what you're doing, but are you ultimately, what's your dream lifestyle design? Are you wanting to do less travel? Do you like how much travel you're doing? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, right now I like how things are right now, because it seems to serve the call right now. Right. And to me, like from a what's my purpose and my mission question, which is to help people grow, heal, and awaken through conscious comedy. The travel is just a tool to execute the purpose, and like as long as the purpose is delivered and hopefully expands into the future. I don't really have too much preference, like travel needs to be there forever or less travel, more travel. I think certainly our relationship is part of what gives me feedback where do I want more travel right now? No, like that would not serve our relationship. And nor is the business of purpose calling for that. And if and when we have offspring in the equation, I could see how, for a season or two, I would really want less travel. Sure. Yeah. So like I
kind of depends.
I guess I relate to that question in I think a slightly different way than the trajectory of the question, where I like to keep my ear to the grindstone of purpose. And I know a lot of people would say, like, I love travel. Like, that's so important to me. To me, it's a means to an end. So I like to listen to, the ear to the grindstone of what's the heartbeat of the purpose saying right now, realizing like it's always an in the moment question. And for you, same question.
For me, travel has always been a really big driving force in how I design my business. And this is, I think, how we're so uniquely different because I feel like it just came upon you, became this thing. Whereas for me, I was like, from the very beginning, like travel is going to be a huge part of my lifestyle design. It's going to be, I was very intentional about how I built my business to be able to include a lot of travel because I love to travel internationally and I love to immerse in other cultures for longer periods of time. So I tend to produce a retreat somewhere or a training and I'll stay there for a couple weeks extra. And I really just love learning about other cultures and other traditions. So for me, that's really exciting. It's what makes life just like, I wake up every day so excited about who I'm going to meet, what type of experiences I'm going to have, and how I'm going to learn from all of those things. And so that's always been a huge driving force. And that's also why I create a lot of the experiences I do because I know how powerful travel is for people. And so I have this opportunity to share these magical places with people and just see their eyes light up the way that mine do when they're in those places. And for me, that's really, really a huge part of my purpose is that process of helping people open their minds and open their hearts to a completely different way of being by being immersed in different environments and different cultures.
Outside the entrepreneurial realm, I didn't say that right. I don't even care. I think in terms of personal development, one of the absolute most powerful things that any of us can do is travel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I look like in my life, your life, I was just doing a podcast with our mutual friend Dustin Thomas. He's traveled a lot and we were talking about just like how instrumental the life lessons are that travel brings to us have been on our development of who we are and who we're becoming. And I think it's just, it is the university of life, travel. And it's like, whatever the dose is, I know that the medicine or the poison is always determined by the dosing, yet I think some level of travel is super, super helpful.
Yeah, I think the most transformative experiences of my life were always when I did solo trips on my own. When I had to really just sit with myself and reflect on all the different people around me, the different experiences I was having. And really from that place, I was able to sit back, reflect, and decide on what I really wanted to take from all these different experiences to create my ideal lifestyle that really supported me in all the ways that I desired. And that's where that term lifestyle design became such a thing for me because I was, wow, there's this whole realm of people who are so excited about intentionally designing their lives to support them. They're everything about their environment, who they spend their time with, what type of natural environment they're in, how they design their homes, how they structure their work. And that's definitely something I'd love to dive into here with you, Sweetie, too, is how you structure your workday. Because one of the biggest questions I get from entrepreneurs when I do a lot of coaching is about how I structure my day and just how to be most efficient and productive with your time so that you have that work-life balance that is the dream, right? To be able to have a lot more freedom in your lifestyle. So how do you structure your day when you're in that creative process and working on those big projects?
Yeah, well, I let each day be a part of the learning experience where I typically screw things up enough during every day that I can learn how to better do things tomorrow if I pay attention to what's come up. So what I found does work for me to help best create some resemblance of work-life balance is prioritizing the priorities, not prioritizing the non-priorities, not prioritizing what seems urgent, but it's kind of hollow and it's actually not a priority. So
that's huge.
To me,
not reacting, choosing.
Yeah, to me, the mindset, like a Zen mindset that can stare right in the eyes something that's urgent, usually coming from someone else, so it's like extra seductive, but staring that right in the eyes and saying, not now. Maybe not ever, but you are not my priority. So I think if we don't have the right mindset that hones in on prioritizing our priorities, first off, we're not going to serve our purpose very well at all. Second off, our quality of life will go down and our work-life balance will get progressively worse and worse equilibrium, because when we start prioritizing things that aren't our priorities, we get busier than what we can handle. So we still try to get to our priorities, but that's sometimes behind a whole plate full of other urgencies. And so not having the right mindset to prioritize priorities is the best way to kill your work-life balance, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And so for me, that like the creative time is important. I think a question we can ask ourselves is, what's most valuable in my business?
Sure.
And I realize it's the creative time, because that's where I write and come up with video concepts and shoot videos. And there's so many other cool things going on, but I realize the creative time for the videos is most important, because all the other opportunities are ultimately coming from people, company, future business partners finding me via the online videos. So then other aspects of the kind of like my day that seem to be important is supporting my team members. Like supporting them to support me, and more importantly, the mission. So that might be like making sure like, okay, I might not just be checking all the frivolous emails or texts, but I'm checking to see if they have anything they need from me, or prioritizing returning their calls first. And then I think another essential part is you and I prioritizing time together, which only happens through intentional conversations. Very rarely happens via accidents. So realizing that when we're prioritizing our priorities, like you are my priorities. So what Amber and I tend to do is asking each other, like, when are you done with work today? And also having conversations like, let's not work past this amount of time, or 6 p.m. whatever on certain days, and then having intentional date nights. So without, to me, that's bringing a lot of intelligence to the equilibrium of work-life balance. And without that clear, intentional communication with whoever's most important to you in your life outside of work, you might not have much balance.
Yeah, exactly.
So prioritizing priorities and communicating with those in your life that are important to spend time with. How would you answer that? Beautiful lady.
Well, for me, I tend to start, I've learned the hard way over the years, because like I said, I can work 18-hour days and be like, okay, let's do it again tomorrow. And I've really learned the hard way about burnout. And so over the years, I've really had to be pretty structured with myself. I'd say really structured with myself when it comes to having better balance. And so the way that I set up my work days, I typically work for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, and that's creative time, that's emails, that's coaching. And then I also do the same chunk of time, 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon, evening, when I feel I'm the most energized. So I've really taken some inventory as to when I feel the most alive, creative, energized, where I can really show up fully to my work. And then I just really do those things that are absolutely necessary for my business to be successful moving forward. So again, delegating to team members, and to really be able to just stay in my core genius as a creator, as a writer, and as a coach and as a teacher. All those things support me in staying in that little couple hour block window in the morning and also in the afternoon and evening. And then most lately, really, really intentionally having slow down time. So that means having more self-care time. So for me, that's going to the gym, that's going to a dance class, that's going to a yoga class, that's just being out in town with friends, having more social time, really actually building that in, because if I don't, it won't happen. Mm-hmm. And then, so there's a self-care piece that I'm really, really, really focusing on. That's probably my number one priority, because it is my number one priority. It has to be, because when I'm at my best for myself, I can show up the best for you, and I can show up the best for my business. But if I'm an empty cup, there's nothing I can give from. And so always, always, always a lesson I keep learning from our relationship and from my business is that the better I take care of myself, the better I can be for everyone else. And so that's become my number one priority.
Yeah, I will echo the self-care, because I've seen the lack of it at times for both you and I, where we'll work ourselves into, neglecting self-care, work ourselves into a frazzled, stressed, unpleasant, unhappy person whose health is literally suffering. And it's like, all right, like we're not able to show up much at all in work or life. It's like, that's when things just get really busy and really not impactful.
Yes,
so I
and
think,
overwhelming and stressful, and we're not enjoying the process.
So I think, the term self-care can almost be misleading because it seems selfish. The word self is in it, but I think it's very much selfish not to do self-care, because it steals from your business, it steals from people who you would otherwise be reaching, it steals from people in your personal lives. And I think the right amount of self-care is one of the best investments a business owner could ever make, because you just are able to bring so much more of your life and faculties and inspiration and creativity into your business. And I think that is important. Realizing you can go overboard, like, cool, I'll do 12 hours a day of self-care. It's like, yeah, cool. And now you're out of balance the other way.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that we've been chatting about lately is this idea of white space. So creating time throughout the day for white space, where our minds can just pause, take a break. We can, and what that looks like might be different for everybody. So for someone like me, that might look like walking outside, jumping in the pool, a reset of energy to just unplug from the devices, get away from the screens, be with ourselves. And so meditation is one of those key things for me that I love to do. Walking in nature, hanging out with friends is a great pattern interrupt as well. But really, my ideal definition of white space is where there's no distractions and you can just be present with life without all of these things pulling on you and without creating or doing anything. So that white space is really where both of us were chatting about this, is where we have all that inspiration and that creativity come to us, is in those white spaces. And so we're intentionally trying to create more of that space in our lives so that we can experience that more, that insight, that creativity. And so what do you do in your white space? Is that just like chill time for you, or what does your white space look like?
Yeah, so to me, white space, it's kind of analogous to the farmer leaving his field the hell alone. And you realize the fields need to be tended to, or else they're not going to bear fruit and vegetables and whatever you're growing on your field. Yet if you keep messing with your field, you keep watering it, you keep fertilizing it, you can kill all your crops by over-fertilizing, you can kill all your crops by over-watering. So white space is it's leaving the field alone for a while. And for me, what that looks like is no scheduled obligations.
Yes.
So it means say I have 20 minutes of white space, I will do what I'm inspired to do in that moment without the burden of I got to be productive. Right. So it might be like, I want to take Zephyr for a walk. Mm-hmm. Or it might be I want to go in the backyard and throw beanbags at the cornhole board. It might be I want to sit in that chair and stare at that tree. Yeah, it might be, I want to call my friend Drew. And then sometimes it's like, oh, and this video idea came to me, I want to write that down too. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just like, hey, there is zero productivity that's scheduled here, no obligation for productivity. So typically I know I'm entering into white space because I'll have a little electrical charge that goes off in me that says, oh, I'm being irresponsible. Oh, I'm being unproductive.
Yes.
And then I know, like, cool, I'm willing to go into that discomfort in the name of being in the white space. Just imagine the farmer stops watering his field. He's like, oh, I'm not being productive. Let me water more. And like, if you become a slave to avoiding these feelings, then it's like, now you're killing your crops.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's so funny you bring that up because I think this was yesterday. I was having a really hard time just like taking some time in the midday to go to Barton Springs with you. And I'm like, there's this thing inside of me that's like, you're being irresponsible because you're not sitting behind your desk working on your computer doing the things you know you need to be doing. And it's this, but that's always there, right? That's there even on our days off when it's planned days off. And so that's just, as a business owner, we feel incredibly responsible for our businesses succeeding and being stable and growing and all those cool things. So it's, like this inner thing that we have to, just feel it and keep allowing yourself to have more space. Yeah. Because otherwise you just work yourself into the ground.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny, like the temptation of like, keep doing the work, stay busy. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like no one gives a crap if you spend a couple extra hours doing busy work. Yes. That's not really impactful, but it's busy, so you might pretend it's impactful while you're just avoiding the discomfort of being unproductive. Like at the end of the day, look, no one cares. Like no one knows. And even if you were narcissistic enough to tell people, like, I work 16 hours today, they really won't care. And I don't even think you care. I think we might enjoy the dopamine hit that we get by like going through like, hour 14, cool, little dopamine release. But I think the bottom line is we do the opposite of care. It's a field of carelessness towards ourselves when we're doing that. So just the idea of like, oh, I'm becoming more significant by staying busy. It's like, I fall for that too sometimes. And I think we make ourselves less significant while believing we're becoming more significant.
Yeah, I think unfortunately a lot of us have been programmed and raised to believe that our worth is equated to our productivity. And so much of this unlearning that we do as entrepreneurs is around that entire process of man, I feel like what I'm learning so much now is that the hustle is not where it's at. Sorry, for so many years, for the last 10 years running my business, I just hustled and thought that was the only way to build my dream business and to make the most impact through my business. And in actuality, that's just not the case at all. And I'm learning all of that now and learning how the importance of the white space and the balance. And I feel like I've been dabbling in it, but now I'm really starting to embody it. And that feels so different in terms of the energetics of how I am able to show up now for myself, for you, and for my clients. It's a game changer.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's like this whole process of unlearning.
Unlearning our dysfunction. And maybe unlearning the slavery relationship we have with our dysfunction. Unlearning our pathological patterns, I think, is a big part of life. It's very Zen. There's nothing to learn here, only things to forget.
I like it. So I had a question for you, JP. What is your why? Why do you run your business? What do you hope to do with your business? What's your mission?
Well, I have two whys. My external why, dare I say the more important why, my mission is to help people grow, heal, and awaken through conscious comedy. Period. Very
simple and beautiful.
Thank you. And then also, I like to have an internal, like, super selfish why. Like, first off, like, I get gratification through my mission that I just shared. That's awesome. But I also like to acknowledge I have an ego that just wants to gratify itself. So what's my super selfish reason why? I do what I do, and it's because I love to amuse myself, and it feels damn good. And there's a very egotistical sense of significance that part of me gets tantalized with. So,
Sure.
yeah, I get to feel awesome, and I get to contribute to the betterment of the world by helping people grow, heal, and awaken. What's your why? Why ask why?
I've got a couple whys. So my deeper why in everything I do is very similar to yours, JP, which is why I think we connect so well. So mine is definitely...
We are married.
We are married, yes, we are. In case you guys forgot. So yeah, my mission here is definitely to do the same thing, is to help people transform, heal, and awaken, and to really experience their fullest potential in mind, body, and spirit. And I do that in a lot of ways with a lot of different tools and techniques, but that's really the root of all of it. And for me, there's no greater fulfillment than seeing someone completely transform and decide that they're gonna reclaim their power and design the lifestyle and the life that they want, whether that's running a business or not running a business or whatever that looks like for them, that they are the ultimate creators of their reality and that they have that power innately within them. And so all we have to do is really just get out of our own ways and learn the skills that we need to go ahead and do that. So that's definitely why I wake up every day. And then there's the other aspect of, the way that I've designed my business is very much around my why about wanting to just have the most freedom and flexibility in my lifestyle. Freedom is the number one driving force in the structure of my business, because I run my business online. I love to travel. I love to connect with people. I love to be immersed in other cultures. And so, like you said, the kind of selfish reason is that I love to experience all that life can offer. And so I've designed my business in a way so I can do that pretty much all the time. And that freedom to do what I want, when I want, to the vast majority of the extent of my journey is pretty fantastic. And I just feel so deeply blessed to be able to do what I love every day and to be able to design it in a way that works for me and is super impactful on people.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
So, last question for you, JP. What would you say to those that are listening who are maybe newer to entrepreneurship, or maybe they are deep in it? What would you say to them to help support them along their journey at this point? What are your top tips for building their dream businesses that are super purpose-driven, that fulfill their hearts, that also, just make huge impact on a lot of people?
Yeah, a couple top tips come to my mind. One would be, it's a lesson of impermanence. It's realizing the exact things that get you to one level, if you are overly attached to them, will be the exact things that keep you from progressing to the next level. So,
yes,
being willing to let go, expand, embrace the new, I think is super important. So a willingness to continually leave familiarity, go into mystery, is another way to say that. And I mean, my absolute toppest tip of them all, it's not coming out as number one, would be you got to follow your heart. And I mean that in a very practical way of feeling your feelings. And when you feel a sense of heaviness about something, there's something not right with it. It might be a no, it might be there's something's missing, but I think it's bad for business to betray ourselves. And we have this amazing biofeedback mechanism called our feelings. It's so linked with our intuition. So I think following that, and when something lights us up, we feel lighter, we feel excited, even if there's a lot of fear with it, we got to follow that. That's the scent trail we want to move ourselves down. So I think really honoring myself, following our heart is super freaking important. And then a third one, if I'm allowed to have three.
Go for it, babe. Give it all, just whatever you got.
Yeah, it would be asking who, not how. So
ooh, this is a great one.
I can look back at my life and how I slowed myself down so much for so long, more than I needed to in my entrepreneur journey, was through the tyranny of the how. looking at things that would be great, like, oh, hiring someone or doing this or doing that. And I'm like, well, I don't know how. And then the tyranny of the how takes over, just like a nightmare, where it's either I stop myself from doing that thing because I don't know how, or I think I should learn to do that thing I don't know how to do, which might take me from my core genius, move me out of the place where I can deliver the most value. And now I'm studying accounting rather than asking the question that would allow things to be bigger than just me, which is, who could do this? Not how can I do it? How can it be done? But who can do it? So to me, that has been super instrumental. It's taken me a long time, yet now I've got some very, very powerful who's on my team. And I look at all the things they do. I don't know how to do any of it. For me to learn how to do the things they do, even 10% as well as they do them, when I look at how many people, it would take me 100 years to learn how to do their job in a really shitty way while not doing my job and being in my core genius. Yeah. So for me, being willing to surrender control by asking who, not how. And I think a big fear that comes up for so many people is like, well, if I bring a who on, I'll have less money. Or if I bring a who on in the form of a partner, I'll earn less percentage of however much there is. And, you know, there's obviously really terrible who's to connect with. I wouldn't advocate mindless partnership. Yeah. Yet when we connect with the right who, we realize, like, yeah, I'll make a smaller percentage, like 50% maybe instead of 100%. But we all know the old thing, like, you know, 50% of a million is way more than 100% of 10,000. So if you care about exponential growth in the business sense, then asking who, not how, is the way, a very important way to grow exponentially. Yet if you want to put a governor on your growth and make sure your growth is not exponential, but it's slow and linear at best, then you can focus on the hows and let the tyranny of the how become your nightmare. It's not in my throat still, you know?
Yeah, wow. I love those. Thanks for sharing, sweetie.
It's not in the throat's a metaphor.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds super gross. It must feel really gross.
Feels sexual. How about for you? What are your top tips?
So I would say, wow. Number one would probably, because I've got a lot too I could share here, but I think I'd say that. Okay, now I'm forgetting what I'm trying to say here.
Top tips.
Let me see. I was talking about top tips for those on their journey. I would say boundaries, setting really great boundaries for yourself to honor your growth. So in all aspects of your life, not just in your business. So we've been chatting a lot tonight about boundaries and how to honor your space, time, and energy. And so much of this has to do with also how you attract and bring in your ideal clients for whatever it is, your products or your services. And so what I've learned over the years the hard way that I love to try to impart on newer entrepreneurs is to really focus on setting up the systems, the strategies, and more importantly, the boundaries for your space, time, and energy. So get clear about what you will and won't tolerate with business partnerships, with clients, with your significant other, with your friends, right? With yourself, right? Get really clear about what those boundaries and that containers that you're creating for yourself so that you can really nourish all aspects of you. And let me tell you that all aspects of you means what's going on outside of work as well. So your intimate relationships, your friendships, those things all need to be working and functioning. How you eat, how you take care of your body physically with fitness. There's so many different aspects of our lives that we need to focus on to really create this holistic approach to being able to be successful in business. There's just no way to go about being successful long-term, at least, without having all those things in place. So really looking at the macro perspective is what I would suggest, and really get clear about what your boundaries are. Another thing I'd have to say is Be true to who you are, be super authentic and transparent and vulnerable with how you run your business and with how you communicate with your team and with how you communicate with your clients. I spent many years in my early 20s building out my business and really just feeling I had to be this perfect spiritual teacher, fitness professional character for people. And inside I was quite self-destructive and I just put so much pressure on myself. I was like a really hardcore type A perfectionist. And I really was suffering inside because I was trying to hold up this facade that I thought everybody wanted me to be. And as I've grown older, I just really realized that number one, I can't sustain that facade. It's not enjoyable, it's not sustainable. It only causes more suffering. And then secondarily to that is that I'm not going to attract my ideal clients that way at all. Actually, so much of business is being able to build connections, super strong connections with people and relationships. And if you can't build relationships with someone because you're not being real, then you're not going to be successful in business either. And so I really had to learn that the hard way, that for me to be able to work with my dream clients, I have to be me. I have to be me through and through to the core. And if that means, there's been times where I'm sitting in front of a yoga class and I start crying because I'm feeling so much emotion. And in the past, I would never, ever let myself cry in front of a group. And in actuality, what I've learned by being vulnerable in front of a group in that way and just speaking my truth, and maybe that means crying, like whatever that is that's going on, that's when people really so much more appreciate and are so touched by what I do and how I do it. And how I build relationships with them, because for me that's why I do what I do, is to have those deep connections and to help people. So I can't do that if I'm not me. If I'm trying to have this facade and be perfect, which is completely impossible. So I would say definitely be yourself from the very beginning and set those boundaries. I would also say don't fear technology. I feel like there's a lot of people who are in business right now who are really fearing stepping into the unknown of trying new systems and strategies and automation for their business that really would free them up time and energy wise. So a lot of people are afraid to build the website, the funnel, build a virtual team, whatever it is that's going to assist you in reaching more people, that maybe you just don't have that skill set. Then you go to JP's tip, which is like, well, who can do that for me? Maybe I don't have to do it, but who can do it for me? But being afraid of something like technology that can be so powerful for you in reaching a global audience is just really limiting you and keeping you super small. And I see this a lot with people because they're afraid to do videos like this on Facebook Live. They're afraid to shoot videos, and this is definitely me. I'm still working that edge for sure. But it's, this process of being willing to be seen and heard for who we are and putting ourselves out there. And it's not easy to do that because we risk being judged and criticized for us being who we are, shining bright, speaking our truth, and helping people in the ways that we know we're here to help them. But there's a lot of fear and resistance to doing that for most people because of the things I just mentioned. So with that being said, don't be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid to be seen and heard. Put yourself out there fully, and you'll be rewarded completely.
If you saw an AI robot holding a sword with a menacing smile on its face, would you still say don't fear technology?
Yes.
You heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Even AI robots that are out to kill you should not be feared, according to Amber. It's on your shoulders now.
Yeah, it is. I choose to believe in love, darling.
Yeah, the AI robots might be programmed to love killing you, though.
Oh, well, then I don't know what I'll do in that case. I've not thought that far ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The robots are definitely going to kill us all at one point. The question is, do you want to be in a loving state while they hack our heads off?
Right.
Or do you want to be in a fear state while they hack our heads off?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This just got really dark, babe. You took it there.
Well, it's definitely going to happen, so I'm just trying to share with people the reality of the situation. We never landed on the moon either, and Illuminati is controlling the planet. You're plugged in the Matrix.
Yeah, we're living in the Matrix. We are, yeah, we are.
You just...
Oh, we've got Wally here. So guys, feel free to leave any questions below for JP and I. We're more than happy to answer after this video or also live here, so feel free to leave them below. I hope you've enjoyed this talk, and Hi, sweetheart. Oh, he's just our little bear.
Well, he loves his mama.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you'd like to say, sweetheart, tonight about entrepreneurship, about lifestyle design that you think would be helpful for people out there listening?
I feel complete. Well, one more thing I will just add, I think entrepreneurship is very parallel with one's life journey, one's spiritual journey.
Yeah, very much so.
And it doesn't need to be called that, though. That's how I see it. So with any of our meaningful journeys in life, I think it's important to give ourselves permission to know we're not supposed to have it figured out.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
I think we're always in a process of figuring it out. And the things that we've mastered propel us to further lessons. So it's like what we figured out now supports us being at a new edge to figure something new out. Yeah. So, Alan Watts once wrote a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity. Once wrote a book. It'd be funny if he wrote that book twice. It's like, Alan, you should have made a copy of it so you didn't have to. So he once wrote a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity, and I think there is so much wisdom in allowing ourselves to be insecure, where we realize I don't have to have it all figured out, and that allows us to better be the explorer through the mysterious forest that we're walking through on our uncut path. But if we're insecure about our insecurities, meaning we don't give ourselves permission to be insecure, therefore we hypnotize ourselves into believing that we should have it figured out. Therefore, when we're in our reality of realizing we don't have it figured out, we kind of shame ourselves and think we're doing something wrong or we are something wrong. And I don't think that accelerates us forward in any capacity. So, man, let's be insecure and realize none of us have it figured out. At best, we're in the process of figuring it out. And it is not only okay to be insecure, it's damn awesome to be insecure and to be okay and vulnerable with that.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, the Wally, what a good boy.
He's just like a limp rag right now. He just loves you.
Anything else you would add to that? Hi.
I think I love what you shared about the mystery of just it's always unfolding and we're ever evolving. And when we get to one level, we think, okay, this is it. I figured it out. I got it all organized and under my feet. And then, no, there's a next level. And I always feel like we're being called higher to the next version of ourselves in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And business is I feel like a quantum exponential way to do that, to grow quickly, is to really push yourself with entrepreneurship by pushing that fear edge, that uncomfortableness that many of us experience every day, creating these businesses. But really, I feel what the guiding light is for me in all of it is my heart, like you've mentioned so many times. And I think that's why you and I align so much, is that we have really, really followed our hearts to the fullest capacity, even if that means stumbling face forward into a puddle of mud and realizing, okay, this isn't working this way. How can I carve this path differently but still follow my heart? And so always I see the heart as the guiding North Star in all of the sea of endless possibility and the great mystery of life. So if we can listen to that, we are on the correct path, the correct path.
Beautifully said, babe.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me, sweetie. And thank you all so much for being here with us. And like I said, feel free to leave any questions below. We are here to support you in helping you build your dreams, whatever those look like.
Yes. We've got dog pee to clean up.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Bye, you guys.